call the meeting of the Committee of the Whole together in order. Madam Clerk, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Councilmember Millen.
Here.
Councilmember Bench. Pro Tem Clark is absent. Councilmember Moore.
Present.
Councilmember Bryant.
Present.
Councilmember Balls.
Present.
Councilmember Humphreys.
Here.
Mayor Browning.
Here.
We have 7 members present, 1 absent.
Okay. And the purpose of our Committee of the Whole is to conduct interviews of the certified applicants for the City Council vacancy. Applicants were randomly drawn for the order of the interview. Each applicant will be given 15 minutes for their interview, and the time will be monitored by our city clerk. You have 15 minutes once we start asking the first question. A list of questions, and I will tell you there is a total of 8 questions that we will be asking. Each candidate will be asked the same exact question. The questions, copy of the questions are at the podium. So when your turn to be interviewed, come up, we'll read the question to you, but there's a printed copy on the podium for you to refer to as you're going there. The first applicant will be interviewed, and we ask that the remaining applicants honor the privacy and fairness to the process by waiting in an adjoining room until called by our city staff. Now, following your interview, you will be once your interview is done, you're welcome to remain in the council chambers and attend the remainder of the Committee of the Whole session. Okay, so at that point, Madam Clerk, are we ready?
Yes, our first applicant will be Tavel Richmond.
Tavel Richmond, would you come up to the podium? The other applicants, if you would so kindly, they will show you where you're headed. And no, there is no refreshment or snacks.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Tavel Richmond. We're going to start by asking those questions, and I am going to start with John Milne. John, would you start, and we'll work this way. You'll take the first one and the second, okay?
Okay. Good evening, Tavel. Our first question for this evening. What do you find most notable about tonight's 6:30 p.m. regular meeting agenda?
What do I find notable about it? Honestly, I have not looked at the agenda for tonight.
Okay.
I knew there was a meeting, but I was more concerned about the interview, to be honest.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
How would you maintain the progress made regarding the control of blight and crime?
Well, I think with blight and crime, a lot of that has to do with the lack of opportunity in the city. And to bring forth opportunity within the city, I think that can definitely decline crime. Over the past years, the crime has declined. There's been a little spike in the past couple months, but it's not like it used to be. And with blight, we're noticing that the ordinances are currently decreasing as well. And I believe with the opportunities, getting people out there, getting people to care about the city, getting people to care about their environment, of course, the area that they live in, could bring down the blight as well.
Okay. Share your idea on ways to attract new residents and businesses to the city of Saginaw.
I think a couple ideas I have would be to, number one is you have to be able to meet people at their needs. Be out there, talk to the people, find out what they want. Of course, we all know that probably top priority is money, which means jobs. And to be able to bring I think small businesses, of course, big corporations, those are kind of more difficult to bring to a smaller city or a city that isn't as attractive, that doesn't bring much traffic through the city. But smaller businesses, new restaurants, new places where people can go and volunteer, places for the youth. I think that could be a lot helpful because, as we all know, everybody looks for the youth. And if you bring in businesses that could attract the youth, places where they can go as far as whether it's like a Boys and Girls Club, whether it's this outreach program, that could definitely attract new residents, giving them something that only the city of Saginaw offers.
Okay.
Based on the priorities set by council and administrative staff, which priorities do you think are most important for city council to focus on?
Mostly, number one is the city of Saginaw, the people of Saginaw, and that is making sure that we all make the right decisions for the people. Of course, some decisions may not be the crowd's favorite, but if we know in the truth in our minds that the people are going to be better off by the decisions that we make, I believe that is the top focus that we should focus on. It always has to be the people.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. The city's general fund property tax revenue is capped, and the cap is not adjusted for inflation. State revenue sharing has been reduced. How can the city offer necessary services as these two important revenue streams decline?
I think what we can do is we can offer a service to where we can possibly cut some areas as far as tax to where that the revenue stream could possibly, we can create some revenue. You have to create some revenue in order to offset that inflation that we're not receiving.
Thank you.
Okay. Share your thoughts on what you see as opportunities and challenges facing the city.
Challenges are, of course, we all know that the numbers in the city are declining as far as people, so we need to bring new residents to the city. I believe if we could take some of these empty lots that we have in the city and possibly create opportunities, whether it be possibly rebuilding homes, possibly putting together playgrounds for children. Challenges we've seen, we all know that our crime has been up there in the past few years. But like I mentioned earlier, it has been declining. But we need to give an opportunity for the young people who are involved in these crimes or who are projected to be in these crimes, because we all know that if you are raised in that environment, most likely you're going to be projected to be in that lifestyle. Myself, I'm one of the few that made it out of that lifestyle. I feel that if you create a environment to where we can teach the youth and we can teach mindset and positive thinking and people that think outside the box and think outside of their environment, we can truly offset those challenges and create opportunities for people in the city.
Good evening, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Please describe a community service or other role you have been.
Excuse me. You're on number 7.
I like number 8 better. Number 7, what is the role of a city council member?
The role, my definition of the role is to be the face of the city. When people look at what's going on in the city, they're directly going to look at our leadership, which is the city council.
And Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to take the last?
I will do that, thank you. Describe a community service or other role you have been involved in that has had an impact in the city.
Myself, I've been involved in martial arts, Taekwondo, for the past 5 or 7 years. And what I've seen is in the community, I've seen children who are, I wouldn't say they're not pretty disciplined at home become disciplined. Now they may not, go through the ranks of martial arts, but for them to come back 2-3 years later and say, hey, the discipline that you taught me in class really helped me out in school. I've involved myself in security programs where I did security for fundraisers, and just being able to get out there and reach and speak with the parents, speak with children, and know that, hey, there are good faces out here in the city, and you don't have to be afraid to go out and have fun in your own city.
Thank you.
Okay. Very well, that concludes all the questions there. How much time is left?
7 minutes.
Is there, I'll yield to you if you would like to say something, any additional, but you have covered the questions.
Okay, yeah, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity, and I know you guys work hard and do extremely hard work, and you can't please everybody, and I understand that's a role of leadership, and I think leadership is something that we need to empower and instill in this city, because if you don't have anybody following you, then you're not a leader. And that's number one thing that we need to instill is leadership. Of course, overnight, this city won't change drastically, but through work and dedication and unity within the city and the people, and things like bridging the gap, I believe that is a big help in the city. Things like what Chief Roof has been doing over at the City Police Department, getting his officers involved with community policing, I think that has helped a lot. And people are more comfortable in the city, and people are feeling okay. Quite frankly, 10 years ago, a lot of people would be scared to go outside in the city. A lot of people would be scared to do things, but we have things like the Friday Night Live. People are comfortable going down there. What you guys implemented with the businesses who have to have cameras overnight, I think that's helped out a lot too. And shutting down the nightclubs, that has helped a lot as well. Of course, older crowds want to have fun, but there's other ways that we can have fun. And we also have a small security companies that help in these environments, whether it's a nightclub or just a party. We have a few of them in the city. They help, and they've done a tremendous job as well, which has resulted in good rates and good reports in our city. And,
okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is Jamie Forbes.
We didn't take the whole 15 minutes, did we?
No, he had about 5 minutes left.
You kind of cut off a little bit there.
Okay, that's up to the applicant.
Welcome, Jamie. We'll start our questioning. The first question, and again, they're printed on the podium for you. And we'll go to Councilwoman Annie Bench for our first question.
All right. Good evening. What do you find most notable about tonight's 6:30 p.m. meeting agenda?
First of all, I wanted to thank you all for taking the time today. I'm really excited to be here. Most notable on the agenda tonight is the agreement about the Jefferson building. There's going to be some development there, and I'm really excited to hear more about it. Let me expand a little. I think historic preservation is super important, particularly for a city that has so many beautiful historic properties. And so I am glad to hear that this is the second in a row now that we've been able to see some progress on.
Next question would be, how would you maintain the progress made regarding the control of blight and crime?
So I think that when we drive through our neighborhoods, I think that we see that there has been so much progress made. The hardest hit funds have allowed us to remove so many blighted properties, and And it's really making a difference in not only how they look, but I think how our neighbors feel about their neighborhoods. And so to keep that going, I think that we have a few things that are going really well that I would like to do my best to support. The Saginaw Basin Land Conservancy is working on the pollinator plot project, which is transforming land bank owned properties into pollinator gardens. And in my position with the Ezekiel project, we were able to support the outreach of that project. And I just think in the next few years, it's really gonna change how our neighbors feel about the care that's been put into these empty lots. I think that when people see things growing up, that it brings them down, and it has an effect on the way that they treat their own properties. And I think that the SBLC project is gonna change that. I think also that, we've talked many times about a perception issue. The reality of the crime in Saginaw is very different from the perception of it. And in my position with Ezekiel, I was able to squash a few of those, and I think that we all do on a daily basis. We tell the truth about this place we love, and I think that that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in that area. I think that in terms of crime, I go to so many neighborhood association meetings, community police officers, and the involvement of the fire department in our neighborhood associations really allows for our neighborhoods to have a direct impact on the crime that they see. And it allows, in my opinion, for police and fire to do a better job at their jobs because of that communication. So I think that we've made a lot of progress, and of course there's always more to do, but I think we are moving in the right direction, certainly.
Okay. Jamie, share your ideas on ways to attract new residents and businesses to the city.
So I think that we will all agree that driving through downtown and Old Town, that there is some magic going on, that we are in the midst of a rebound. And I know that, that there's so many of us that tell that story whenever we can, right? I think that in order to attract new folks and new businesses, we need to really celebrate our diversity while knowing that there is work to be done to develop relationships amongst the different groups of people in our city. But we look a lot like a big city while being a small city, and that's really special, and I think we should talk about it a lot. I think that there's, just like this thing on the agenda later today, there's a real blessing in our historic districts and the redevelopment that's going on. I think that we can advocate for high density development to build our city centers and to really use that to mitigate our population loss. And I think that that's really what young people want. And of course, I would advocate for continued collaboration with our school district because good schools help us attract and retain young families.
Good afternoon. Based on the priorities set by council and administrative staff, which priority do you think are most important for council to focus on?
So I reviewed the budget and I saw the 5 priority areas. I think that that they're really wonderful areas, and I see the way that the functions of this board reinforce those 5 priorities, and of course our staff as well. I would say that it is natural for council members to have certain areas that that their skills and their interests make them particularly capable of working on. I would say that one of them that particularly interests me is the economic development of the urban core. Like I talked about, I think it's really important that we continue to support the development that's going on in our urban centers, and that we really think about how we can choreograph that development as best we can by supporting policies that that support our vision of what we want our city to look like. But of course, there are also confines of council, and I believe that it would be really important to appoint people to committees and boards that contribute to economic development. Good folks that are really capable of pushing our vision. I think that a collaboration is really important, and of course, relationships that we all have as members of the community that can help push those priorities. I think that that staff is really capable of working on the economic development side of things as well, and that that council should be active in supporting those initiatives. One of the things that that I think so challenges us here in Saginaw is that although our unemployment is rather low, we often have issues with the quality of the jobs that are available for folks. And so that would be ever present in my decision making. Although this is a really affordable place to live, you can't do much for minimum wage. And then in my job with Ezekiel, I had the opportunity to meet people that are very different from me and see how they live, or at least a small window. And I think that it's really important that we think about how we can make sure that development benefits everyone, no matter where they live, and no matter what their socioeconomic background is or their education level, that it shouldn't just benefit people like me, to be frank. It should benefit everyone. And I think that there are things that can be done that you all are doing already, but that also could be supported additionally. And then the other area that I would say is arts, culture, and recreation. I am on the steering committee of the Great Mural Project. We worked on the big mural in downtown. This is our first year, but we're planning on doing it annually. And as a big sister and big brothers, big sisters, me and my little sister Samaya have had the opportunity to utilize lots of the arts and culture. And we are so blessed in this region with so much good stuff. But there's always more that can be done. And plus keeping in mind that that would need to be available to everyone, not just people that have the income to spend on such things. So those are the two areas that I would say that I would be able to be the most helpful with.
Okay.
The city's good evening. The city's general fund property tax revenue is capped, and the cap is not adjusted for inflation. State revenue sharing has been reduced. How can the city offer necessary services as these two important revenue streams decline?
Oh, the tough question, right? The tax cap is a deep issue. I would say that in the past year with Ezekiel, we were looking into collaborating with the NAACP to pursue a campaign, whether or not that would be soon or later. We were really trying to see if there might be a chance for us to take another crack at it from the grassroots side of things. Since the intent of council pursuing it can be kind of tricky, right? So I will say that I'm still perplexed. I think it's a tough one. I think that with revenue sharing where it is, that we can do our best to advocate for a shift in the revenue sharing policies from the state. We can also support housing like the Bancroft and the Eddy and the Brownstones and other higher level housing as a way for us to bring in more income tax dollars. But of course, if we are to ever tackle this, I think that it will need lots of collaboration and lots of research. And I know that there have been really wonderful folks that have pursued it before. I look at some of the ways that it's been, that complicated issues have been messaged to the electorate before, and I wonder if there's any learnings that we can take from that. But yeah, it's a tough one. I think that there's still hope for us, though, that this can be worked on. And I think that we need to really be careful to tell people that this is not a quick fix. This is not going to allow us a bunch of money to pursue parks right away. It's going to be something that's going to take a little bit. But this is an investment in the future of our children and our grandchildren. This is about things being different for us as a city in 30 years. And that people care about their kids and their grandkids, and that those young people deserve for the tax cap to be lifted.
Jamie, can you, I got a question for you. Share your thoughts on what you see as opportunities and challenges facing the city.
Thank you. So I think we've got a lot of good things going on. Like I said before, I think that we have this beautiful diversity in our city that makes us so special. But that we need to do our best to make sure that we're bridging the gaps between the different communities, and bring people together. I think that in my experience as a nonprofit director, I was so blessed with so many lovely leaders in this community that were generous and were so supportive of my development as a leader and my work in the community. And I think that that team mentality makes us special too. I don't think that that's how every community is. I mentioned historic districts a couple times before. I think that there's an opportunity to attempt to capture our transient population. We've got some people coming into town for CMU and SBSU, employees that are here on business for Dow or anything else. How can we convince them to stay? How can we convince them to see who we really are and give us a shot? We also have a lot of affordable housing, which I am a proud benefactor of wonderful affordable housing in the city. I wonder if there's any way for us to use that housing, that affordable housing, as an incentive for new folks coming to town. I know that a lot of other cities have done sort of creative models based on that. We see employers offering that already in town. So, like Covenant, for example. So how could we build on something like that and, within the bounds of council's powers, be able to support those kinds of programs? In terms of challenges, like I said before, we have some perception issues. I don't think they're real. I love this city so much, and I think that there are tons of great things that are happening here. I think that we have a challenge with schools, which impact our ability to retain young families. But I also think that a lot of what we see play out in our schools is a product of poverty, not an issue of the intention or quality of our schools. It's also that there's a whole lot of extra stuff that impacts a child's ability to succeed. And so I really think that there's just so much good stuff going on, and that it would be a privilege to be able to support those good works from a council seat.
Good evening, Jamie.
Good evening.
Would you please describe the
No.
role?
No,
No?
no.
Yes.
Seven.
No, he's on 7 this time.
He's on 7.
He's
I'm
got
on
it right.
7.
No, but he started with 8, so now go to 7.
Go ahead.
What is the role of a council member? That was the question I was going to
That's
ask.
the question.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Taking time.
So the role of a city council member, I think that it is to be part of a team, right?
Jamie, unfortunately,
Okay.
our time has ended, and we need to be sensitive of that, because, so.
Cool.
Anyways, thank you very much, Jamie.
Thank you, I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Our next candidate is Joe Loperena.
Oh, no, I got it. I got it. Right there. I got it right there. Lloyd, you'll start on this one.
She told us.
Welcome, Joe. The questions are printed on that sheet in front of you. We're gonna, the time starts as soon as our Mayor Pro Tem Floyd Clark reads you the first question.
First question, good afternoon,
Good
is
afternoon.
what do you find most notable about tonight's 6:30 PM regular meeting agenda?
Well, I think it's important to look at the agenda and understand what you guys are voting on upcoming in front of you. I've been in this seat before. I was a trustee in Carlton Township, and I always looked at my agenda and circle something that I want to see get removed or not removed.
Okay. Second question, number 2, how would you maintain the progress made regarding the control of blight and crime?
Well, I'm only one person. And when it comes to blight and crime, you know, you can just drive around the city and understand what is the city is hurting in this situation. We know there's a lot of blight that's been done in the city and around the city that's being tear down and rebuilt and adding things, and crime is getting lower and lower and lower as is. We're getting off that list.
Good afternoon. Number 3, share your ideas of ways to attract new residents and businesses to the city.
Well, as a city council member, I would make myself appearance and welcome new people to our city and try to attract businesses that's not in the city that come move into the city and understand that they can expand their city, their business a lot bigger in the city than where they are today.
All right, number 4, based on the priorities set by the council and administration staff, which priorities do you think are most important for council to focus on?
Priorities is our city. We understand that we're losing people, and we're losing people to different cities, and people are moving 2 hours away from here because the jobs are no longer here in the city. For example, is the plants. Before next year was here, it was the GM, General Motors. General Motors was very popular in the time in the 90s, and now they're no longer existed, and everybody is moving to the Grand Rapids area.
Go ahead.
Okay then. Hey, Joe, the next question, number 5. The city's general fund property tax revenue is capped, and the cap is not adjusted for inflation. State revenue sharing has been reduced. How can the city offer necessary services as these 2 important revenue streams decline?
As a city council, you have to look and decide at the 2 property taxes and the revenue taxes, and to decide which one we're going to take care of. Carlton Township, we didn't have to worry about state revenue. We just worried about property taxes. We had people come up and was very angry with their property taxes being raised. I mean, property taxes got to get paid, and you know that's the way you keep your city going strong.
Okay.
Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, sir.
Would you please share your thoughts on what you see as opportunities and challenges facing the city?
Opportunities is the city is growing bigger, and what's facing the city is we need more young people to step up and run for things in the city. I mean, the city needs help. a lot of people that wants to step up and try to bring in opportunities like I've been trying to bring back for years is the Naho Baseball League, which, you know, that came back on its own. And I was a diehard fan when it was the Naho League. And I worked partial for that organization, but that's the biggest challenge is we need more things for our kids in the city.
Good afternoon, Joe.
Good afternoon.
What is the role of a council member?
Council member is someone who's here to serve the city, who is a voice for the residents of the city of Saginaw. And a council member role is to agree or not agree with other members from different background or different racials in the heart. When I was a township trustee, I was the youngest trustee to be elected. And I had a lot of learning to do because I was young. And I had to learn the role of what a council member was and not a council member does. A council member is only one person, one vote. And after your meeting, you might be a city council member, but after you step down from that platform, you're just plain old Joe.
Good evening, Joe.
Good evening.
Please describe a community service or other role that you've been involved in that has had an impact on the city.
Well, the other roles I have been part of the city. For many years, I was the organization of the annual Cinco de Mayo parade. I was the chairman for 5 years. Out of the 5 years, my parade was the biggest parade that the city of Saginaw ever hosted. It was 66 entries, and back in the 80s, it was 62 entries. So I kind of beat it, and I was excited. I also helped with Friday Night Live, dealing with the trash, picking up the trash from everybody that eats, and holiday in the city. I hand out the ribbons at the end of the parade, and I try to get back to the city that I love, and that is the impact of things that we could see and can we do more. And for many years, they always call me and ask me ideas for the Cinco de Mayo parade, and I always give them. So take it to the city.
How much time do we have left?
6 minutes.
Joe, there is 6 minutes left. We have completed our questions. Is there anything else you would like to add? You have 6 minutes if you would like to do that.
You guys all know that I am running for the city school board, and if appointed tonight, I am going to decide to decline my winnings. If I win on the city school board, I was just going to withdraw and write a resignation letter to the city school board to stay on the city council. Because that's where my heart is at. I truly missed it. I was a trustee for 2 years in Carlton, elected in 2012, resigned in 2014 of June to move into the city. And I truly miss it. I go to their meetings once a month and just a voice of opinion on recreation costs. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate you allowing me to apply for this position. So thank you for what you guys do for the city, and continue doing it strongly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
And our next applicant is Obel Wind.
And I will start the questioning with number 1. I will move on down. Unless you want to reverse now. No way.
Hey, what question do you want
You
to
want to
ask?
put back and forth? I don't, no matter what we do, we got,
I know.
John Humphreys has got to do number 8. I don't care. John's got to do number 8.
He said he gonna let you do number 8, regardless.
Welcome, Lynn. The questions are printed, we're just a reminder, they're printed in front of you. Each council member will take turns reading questions to you. I am the first, and I will begin with number 1. What do you find most notable about tonight's 6:30 regular meeting agenda?
Well, I didn't get a chance to really look at the agenda for this evening, but I know that some of the things that the city council has been working on is the blight, the downtown renovation, Old Town, so basically.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Nguyen.
Good morning.
How would you maintain the progress made regarding the control of blight and crime in the city?
Well, I would just kind of follow what the current board's been doing. I think that this city council, the current city council, has been doing a fine job, maintaining the progress of and controlling the blight and some of the other things that they have been doing around the city. So you have to be commended.
Good evening. Share your ideas on ways to attract new residents and businesses to the city.
I'd like to just follow on my last answer, what the city council has been doing in downtown with the Delta College, bringing Saginaw Valley, CMU, other businesses, actually the new jail project, working on the rail trail that we have going on, and different things of that nature, Old Town, the building of the condos over there, starting to use the waterway a little bit more, is always attractive to new businesses. We have some property. I think we're doing something over with the old Malibu area there. That's a big property that I think could be utilized to attract new businesses. So.
Okay, based on priorities set by the council and administration staff, what priorities do you think are most important to the city council to focus on?
The tax cap is one, and the other is legacy costs. Like I said, we have a large legacy cost, which can't be, I don't think can be rectified unless you just find a way to lift the tax cap.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The city's general fund property tax revenue is capped, and the cap is not adjusted for inflation. State revenue sharing has been reduced. How can the city offer necessary services as these two important revenue streams decline?
That's a tough question right there, because these services are necessary. I know I ran for city council and I actually gave an answer on this, and I don't think that I got the police or the fire's support on that. Combined services is all I could say. Combined local services, police and fire.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Would you share your thoughts on what you see as the opportunities and challenges facing the city?
Well, the opportunities are limitless, because like I said, Saginaw is a great city. We have great residents. I think that, but we actually have to address our skilled trades for our youth. So that was one of the things in education. Those are challenges as well as opportunities to, find jobs for people of the city of Saginaw.
Good evening.
Good evening.
What is the role of a council member?
Role of a council member is to address the needs of the city policies and citizens, and in which if they're elected or, in this case, appointed, to do the best they can to provide opportunities and growth for a municipality such as Saginaw.
Number 8, good afternoon. Describe a community service or other role you have been involved in that has had an impact in the city.
I'm a board member of Bridge the Gap, which is a program which is bridges the gap between the community and law enforcement. I think that has a big impact. We're in our fourth year of doing that. It provides a way, especially at this time where there's negative outlooks on police, fire, or public safety, that they will get a chance, children or residents will get a chance to see that there are people too, and they have families.
Okay, good. Mr. Nguyen, that concludes all our questions. There is still time remaining, and if you'd like to make a statement or a comment, you're certainly welcome to do that until you.
I'd just like to commend you of the job you've done. I ran for city council some years ago. I got beat handily by some of the people that's sitting up there. I did not, did not understand really a lot of the political and how you actually run for city council and how you prepare. I think that being a city council person is a hard job. You can't please everybody, but there's a lot of people that look to you for special interest. And I think you have to give them those answers, whether they be the answer they want to hear or the answer they don't want to hear. But together, the 9 of you have to come to a decision for the betterment of the city and the citizens thereof. So once again, I do mean it sincerely. What I've seen around the city in the last 4 years, the streets, the buildings going up, the programs that are going on, some of the things that I've seen Mayor Browning doing, that's what the city council is, I think, is supposed to be doing. So I thank you for this opportunity. I thank these young people that are here. When I walked in, I really felt old because they look really young. But that's a positive because they're the future is what I told them in that room there. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is Christopher Jacobs.
Brenda, you'll start with number 1. Good afternoon, Mr. Jacobs.
Good afternoon.
You'll see that the questions are there on the podium in front of you. There's a total of 8. You have 15 minutes. The time starts when Councilwoman Brenda Moore reads question number 1.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Good afternoon. What do you feel most novelist about tonight's 6:30 p.m. regular meeting agenda?
Well, I think often we get hung up on these really politicized agenda topics, but correct me if I'm wrong, most of what you guys do is make decisions about approval of purchases. Last meeting agenda, 17 items of new business, 14 or 15 of them were approving new purchases. It seems to me, working in government and being part of this whole process, that a lot of the decisions we make aren't one big decision, but many little decisions, following the purchasing policy, being a good fiscal steward. So many of the decisions, while not exactly notable, come down to simple purchasing decisions, and those cumulatively have a big impact on the community and how it provides essential services. So I wouldn't point to one issue, but rather the vast majority of issues that you guys face, and that comes down to making simple purchasing decisions often.
Okay. Okay.
Good evening. How would you maintain the progress made regarding the control of blight and crime?
Yeah, great question. I think blight and crime go hand in hand, and that is evidenced by the study last year that came out through SVSU, which I just want to commend the City Council for its dramatic reduction in crime over the past 10 to 15 years. The numbers have been absolutely staggering, and you have to look at them and really dive into them to truly believe them, because I think Saginaw has an unfortunate reputation with crime, but there's a direct correlation between the removal of blight and the reduction in crime over that same period of time. And the SVSU study pointed to that as a significant factor. And so I think how you maintain that progress comes down to listening to those who have been successful over this period of time in reducing blight and consequently reducing crimes. So I don't contend to have all the answers. I would solicit information from those who have been involved on the front lines and leading to that reduction of both problem areas, and try and continue based on their recommendations to move forward with that progress.
Chris, my question is, share your ideas on ways to attract new residents and businesses to the city of Saginaw.
Thank you for that. Yes, that's a great question. I serve as the Downtown Development Authority Director for Cottrell Township. So this issue of economic development is something I'm both personally and professionally deeply involved in. I think the Opportunity Zone tax credits that are made available in the city of Saginaw are going to lead to an increase in investment in distressed communities, and I'm hopeful that you'll see some of that taking shape this year as those opportunity funds are certified by the Treasury. And I think new residents and job opportunities go hand in hand. So if you want more residents, you want to increase the taxable base, they need opportunities. And again, this goes hand in hand with the issue of crime too. So I think having good economic development opportunities for those looking to invest and good paying jobs for those who live here, those things go hand in hand, and it attracts residents to the community, in addition to investments in the public education system, which most people look at when considering which community they want to live in long term. So I think there's a really interconnectedness between these issues of blight, crime, and economic development. And I think that my background is well served to make decisions in the public interest, given that I've worked in this realm for a long time now.
Okay. Good evening. Based upon the priorities set by the council and administration staff, which priorities do you think are the most important for council to focus on?
I think this comes down to fiscal stewardship. So the number one job of the city council and city government is to provide essential services, police protection, fire, water, sewer, stuff like that. And so if you're a good fiscal steward, you have an eye towards thinking critically about the decisions before you, each incremental decision even, giving the thought and time that it deserves. I think fiscal stewardship is the name of the game when it comes to making decisions in the public interest. And I think that my background prepares me to make those kind of judgments consistent with the vision of this council.
Hello, Christopher. The city's general fund property tax revenue is capped, and the cap is not adjusted for inflation. State revenue sharing has been reduced. How can the city offer necessary services as these two important revenue streams decline?
Yes. So I think, we're finding this in a lot of different communities where they're being forced with the decision, okay, do you combine police and fire departments? So some efficiency solutions probably exist, ways to do more with less. You look at the jail and how they've been able to reduce staffing there, or how they hypothetically were looking to reduce staffing there. So they're saving more money and, increasing services by being more efficient at providing some of these services. So I think that obviously it's a huge problem when you have the state reducing the revenue sharing that goes into providing those services. And I think that it's the job of city council often to be creative in their approach to finding solutions to the really difficult challenges that this community faces, because there's not some endless pot of money to somehow replace the money that's not coming from the state. And so we have to look at being more efficient with the money that we have, and again, coming back down to fiscal stewardship, why that's so important.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Can you please share your thoughts on what you see as opportunities and challenges facing our city?
Yeah, so I think the number one opportunity for the city of Saginaw is to rebrand itself as a place that's good for investment, rebrand itself as a place that's good for opportunity. We've got some good things going in this community. Housing rates are extremely affordable. So I think that you already have a built-in economic driver to increase residents and increase the tax base in just sort of the housing dynamics and pricing that exists in the region. But I think investments in schools will increase, the number of residents and the taxable bases, and that's a real opportunity for us to really rebrand ourselves now that we put this crime and blight issues, now that we've addressed them substantially, really branding the city as a place that doesn't jive with some of the top 10 lists that the city has been on, unfortunately, in the past, and to really differentiate it from the history and reputation that's come before. I think that's the greatest opportunity and challenge for the city of Saginaw, and how we do that is going to determine the future, I think, for this community.
Okay. Next question is, what is the role of a council member?
Okay, so I love this kind of question as a person who, has a bachelor's degree in public administration and works in the public realm and has really committed their personal life and their professional life towards contemplating these really deep issues. The role of a city council member to me is to make good decisions in the public interest. And so I think that you have to, I think that the position is one that is elected for a reason. City councilmen are designed to be accountable to the public. So if you're not doing a good job or I'm not doing a good job, there's a mechanism to remove you or I and put in somebody who can do a good job. And so the role of the city council member is to be accountable to the public and make good decisions in their best interests, and then to, find out whether those were good or bad decisions in each and every election.
Your last question is to describe a community service or other role you have been involved in that has an impact in the city. Okay, in terms of community service, I have a long history of community service, having been an AmeriCorps alumni. I have logged over 300 hours volunteering in women's shelters, soup kitchens, and teaching English as a second language. One thing I will say is that my community service did not take place in Saginaw by and large. This was in Grand Rapids while I was in school. Unfortunately, one of the reasons that I moved back to this area is because my mom's not in great health. She's disabled, and so I spent a significant portion of my time caring for her. So this issue of community service as it impacts the city of Saginaw, unfortunately, is not something that I necessarily have the most experience with. But I do want you to know the extensive volunteer experience that I have and how it shapes and reflects who I am as a person and my values. So it's not that I don't value community service or value issues, that I've tried to address in the past through my own commitment of time. It's specific to this place. It's been challenging to find time to volunteer outside of my career.
And so recently, one of the reasons that I've taken up this opportunity is because I will have more time to do that. There's going to be another family member helping out with that. So this is something I want to explore more, these volunteer opportunities like I've done in other communities. I want to try and engage here in the city of Saginaw and play an active role in improving the lives of those disenfranchised most. So I don't mean to avoid the question, but I got to be honest with you when it comes to direct experience in the city.
Good. So, Madam Clerk, there is some time left.
3 minutes.
Yes.
There is 3 minutes left, and we've completed the questions. So you have an opportunity to use your time now to close up any remarks or comments.
Great, thank you. I just want to, let you guys hear some remarks that I prepared. My name is Christopher Jacobs, and I believe I'm a uniquely qualified candidate for this position because of my passion and track record for serving the community. I come from a working class background locally, and I reflect those values, and I hope to reflect a constituency that shares those values. My time in college, as I said, was spent both preparing my heart and my mind by volunteering in distressed urban communities, logging over 300 hours in the AmeriCorps Vista program, serving soup kitchens, ESL programs, and the like. I also want to let you guys know that currently I have been working in Saginaw County since 2012, holding progressively larger leadership responsibilities in nonprofit management and executive government roles, such as with the Cottrell Township Downtown Development Authority. I'm a progressive leader and thinker who's going to think critically about the challenges facing this community to try and find solutions that are inclusive and equitable for all citizens. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to consider me for the position. And I look forward to hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final applicant is Autumn Scherzer. We will be doing a conference call.
I hope we can make that work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to put her through in just a second.
Good afternoon. Is this Autumn?
This is. Can you hear me okay?
Autumn, I can hear you okay, although I have 4 council members or positions on each side of me, so you need to speak up as much as you can, please. Autumn,
Okay,
Autumn, we have 8 questions. You have 15 minutes of time period. And so each of the council members will rotate and ask you a question. Your time will start when we ask the first question, and we will ask that Councilman Clint Bryant will speak up and ask you the first question.
Okay.
Good evening. What do you find most notable about tonight's 6:30 p.m. regular meeting agenda?
Well, I'd first like to say thank you to all of council for the opportunity to interview for appointment. With all respect to council and this process and the accommodation, I would have preferred to have been there in person, but due to a prior commitment with work, I'm unable to be there. But thank you, and I'm honored for the opportunity. On the 6:30 p.m. agenda, I think at every council meeting, all of the items are important. It's always good to have information on the budget and what has been approved or what is set to be approved, laid out and available for everyone to review, including the public. I am glad to see an update on the Downtown Development Authority's vacant grant program on the agenda. And as always, and I love to hear comments from council because they're letting the public know what they've been up to and bringing some information of organizations, what they're doing. And then I like the opportunity for the public to have their comments because they are bringing the good, the bad, and the ugly to council for questions, answers, and they're asking and bringing important in the community to the table.
Okay, next question is, how would you maintain the progress made regarding the control of blight and crime?
I think what the city has done to reduce blight and crime is tremendous, and it is very commendable. I think we should continue to support the current efforts that are being done in the city with our businesses, our volunteers, and our community organizations. And I think we need to be innovative and invite new businesses and organizations and volunteers to get involved. I think we should provide opportunities for youth to get them involved in community service projects, more education, and let them be somebody at the table to be a stakeholder in the community as well. I think we should promote the areas that we have cleaned up and market them, change the perception of the people in Saginaw, and show that they are areas for potential opportunity. There are many social entrepreneurship opportunities available, and it can bring jobs, more training to the citizens, and new development within our city. And we have a great relationship with the land bank, and if I'm not mistaken, there's about 3,000 of the properties that they have are within the city limits. So strengthening and continuing that relationship is important, and being flexible and reaching out to find new opportunities is important because it only increases the value of our properties and our homes.
Good evening, Autumn. Would you please share your ideas on ways to attract new residents and businesses to the city?
Well, I think what we're doing with programs in our economic division are very valuable. I serve on the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation board along with Councilman Humphreys, and we get the opportunity to review firsthand the applications that are submitted for loans of new businesses coming into our community. And it's wonderful to see that they are wanting to remain in the city, but also the new businesses that want to bring their services and products to the city. I think we need to look at social well-being of our residents to increase economic development. Without talent, our jobs go unfilled, so it's important to address that. We need the people. And then I think we should meet people where they are, and I'm a firm believer of that. We should understand them first, support and encourage them, because not everybody has the same career interests or the same goals. We could build up our neighborhoods as well, supporting the organizations that are doing great things like affordable housing, transportation, other stuff, which in return will keep the talent here and of course grow our economy. And then talent is mobile, so we need to embrace change and technology so that we can make Saginaw a choice community, as well as our businesses have been working to become employers of choice. Of course, per capita helps, so increasing that would help, but I think overall just addressing the barriers that prevent our people in our community, the places in our community, and our businesses from participating in the economy will increase our economic development.
Good afternoon, Autumn.
Hi.
Based on the priorities set by the council and administration staff, which priorities do you think are most important for council to focus on?
Well, workforce development and economic development are really important to me. Like I said, I serve on the SCDC, so I think retirees' benefits are important as well. But overall, I think every priority that is set by management is important. And a review of a strategic plan can give you an update of where you are and where you need to go. because all of the priorities are for improving the city of Saginaw. I think we should continue to support and provide the resources necessary to get our priorities to where we want them to be. And then, of course, maybe priorities need to be revisited, because ultimately it will keep us accountable and productive in achieving this area.
Good evening. The city's general fund property tax revenue is capped, and the cap is not adjusted for inflation. State revenue sharing has been reduced. How can the city offer necessary services as these two important revenue streams decline?
I don't think we should reinvent the wheel, because we've had this issue for a while. And we should look at what has worked and what has not worked and build from that. I think we should also seek additional federal and state funding and see how the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the Marshall Plan, the Talent Investment Agency, if they have funding opportunities and grant money that we could bring into the city, we should seek that. We should consider public-private partnerships for projects that provide more direct services for our city, our communities, and our residents. And then lastly, I think we should continue to educate and provide information to our residents about the tax cap. And like I said, it's been done and continues to be done. But until we succeed, we need to keep our residents informed, provide information on what the tax cap is and what it's doing. And because I believe knowledge is power, and the more informed someone can be, the better decisions you can make.
Ms. Scherzer, would you share your thoughts on what you see as opportunities and challenges facing the city?
Well, every city has opportunities and challenges. And understanding that people are drawn to cities for many reasons, like economic development, social, and creative opportunities. So addressing those challenges is really important. I think a common word I've used is innovative. I think we have to be innovative. We should make sure our solutions to the challenges and the opportunities are replicable and scalable. We don't want to do anything that's too much or too little for the betterment of our city. You know, small-scale infrastructure is really important. So that community garden that's in your next door neighbors, or the lot next to you, or bike paths are really important to the citizens as well. I think we should understand and emphasize a mobile community, because we need to make sure that everything that we have is available despite your age or ability. And then, you know, create listservs and newsletters and council presence on social media or websites. I think what council is doing and what they are involved with in the community is amazing, and we should just keep up that same path of providing the public an opportunity to talk to us. They only get 3 minutes at council meetings, so let's give them another way to talk to us outside of the meeting.
Okay. The next question is, what is the role of a council member?
The role of a council member, of course, you're responsible for reviewing documents and information that is being presented at the council meeting, but also just in general, so that way you're knowledgeable and informed about the city at any time, because that is your role if someone is asking. You play a huge part in carrying out the goals, mission, and vision of the city, but you also work as a collective whole for the betterment of Saginaw. I think I'd say lastly is, and these are values that I find in myself and to who I am, you're a part of leadership. You are the face, the voice, and the passion of the city. So being involved and being responsible and asking tough questions and being open-minded is very important, because you're the advocate. You're someone who should walk the walk and talk the talk, because you're representing Saginaw, and you're representing Saginaw to the best that you can.
Good afternoon. Question number 8. Describe a community service or other roles you have been involved in that has had an impact on the city.
I have had the honor of being a part of some amazing things that has been directly affected the city of Saginaw. I've been a part of many diverse projects. Currently, we are trying to bring a low-cost car repair facility to Saginaw. It's modeled after a facility in Midland, and hopefully that'll get started. I'm involved with a rideshare app that's being created, so employees that live out of county, or out of the city, out of the county, but also within the city, can help with transportation to get employees to work, because what I do day to day, we work with companies that are 24/7 operations, and we know we have a transportation issue in Saginaw, but this rideshare app should help. I was a part of the team that got the Ride to Work program going at STARS, but I could share a ton of stuff, but I think everything that you do that serves the city, whether it's a health fair, through my sorority, food giveaways with Hidden Harvest and Bishop Camel, Prematurity Awareness Month, new baby goodie bags for Covenant Healthcare. Those are just a few of the things, but ultimately, anytime that I do a service project or get involved in the community, I always keep in mind the citizens that it's going to affect and how it can grow or impact the community as a whole.
A minute 45.
Autumn, you have completed the 8 questions that the council requires you to, or at least attempt to answer. You have a minute or so left in your time. If you would like to make a statement or comments, you have until the timer goes. So,
I again just want to thank you for this opportunity. Did someone tell me to stop?
Go ahead, keep going.
Okay. I just again want to thank you for the opportunity to interview. I'm sorry for the prior work commitment. And I just want to let you know that it is an honor to sit here and just have this opportunity with you tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I want to thank all our applicants for caring, for coming here and sharing your ideas, and to remind them the appointment will be considered by council during tonight's single subject council meeting. That meeting cannot take place until 6 o'clock. We have advertised that council meeting at 6 and we cannot start until 6. So there's a single subject council meeting at 6 o'clock for the sole purpose of filling the vacancy seat here at the council table. After that, we'll adjourn, and then at 6:30 will be the regular council meeting. So at this time, the committee of the whole meeting is adjourned. Good evening and welcome to our 6 o'clock special council meeting. We begin our meeting, as always with council meetings, with the prayer and the pledge. For those that would love to join in a prayer, please join with me. Gracious Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have to serve the citizens of Saginaw. We thank you for this opportunity that we have to be able to select a council member to fill a vacancy. We ask you to be with us. We ask you to be with all of our citizens, and we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Bench. Present. Pro Tem Plock.
Here.
Councilmember Councilmember Moore.
Present.
Councilmember Bryant.
Present.
Councilmember Balls.
Present.
Councilmember Humphries.
Here.
Mayor Browning.
Here.
8 members present, 0 absent.
Thank you. The purpose of the single subject special meeting is to consider appointment of applicant to the city council filling the vacancy. Open the floor for nominations for applicants that were interviewed.
Mayor,
Yes.
would nominate Jamie Forbes.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Adam Swisher. Yeah. You heard me.
Autumn, yeah. Jamie, and then we have Autumn. Are there any other nominations? Last and final time, is there any other nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are hereby closed. Madam Clerk, we will now do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Bench.
Jamie Forbes.
Mayor Pro Tem Clark.
Jamie Forbes.
Councilmember Moore.
Autumn.
Councilmember Bryant.
Scherzer.
Councilmember Balls.
Swazer.
Councilmember Humphries.
Forbes.
Councilmember Millen.
Forbes.
And Mayor Browning.
I'll vote Jamie Forbes.
We have 5 votes for Jamie Forbes and 3 votes for Autumn Scherzer. Do we have the 5 votes required?
Okay. May I
Choose Jamie Forbes.
At this time, do we call her forward? Do I call her? At this time, Jamie Forbes, would you come forward, please? Oh, right up here, right up to my clerk, please.
Oath of office. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan. And I will faithfully perform the duties of the office council member to the city of Saginaw according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Congratulations. Welcome to the table.
Councilwoman.
Welcome.
That's that.
No.
Right here?
Yeah, just
No.
Amy, would you just come up here to the seat here?
Jamie, I'm gonna shoot.
Mayor?
No.
I don't know, you standing, I'm like, do we still stand?
No, we don't. But you're not gonna sit very long either. We're gonna turn from the
Name tag napkin with me.
or, no, 20 minutes.
Thank you, John.
John's been busy.
There you go, Jim. There you go.
Right.
Tips weren't good, but I elbow.
You know, it's your own fault, John. John, it's gonna be your own fault. You got one on each side. You got one on each side, so.
You know, it's almost like a dinner party.
I know.
Yeah, well, we got time to do adjourn. Move to adjourn.
Congratulations, Amy, for being selected to fill the vacancy for the remainder of the term. And at this time, We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The special council meeting is adjourned. Regular council meeting is at 6:30. Good evening and welcome to tonight's city council meeting. We begin our meeting, as always, with a prayer and a pledge. For those that would like to join in a prayer, please bow your heads. Father, we thank you for this opportunity that we have once again to serve our citizens. We thank you for safe travel here for everyone. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to serve our citizens. Be with us as we deliberate tonight's council business to make wise and good choices. And we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Man.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Forbes.
Present.
Councilmember Millen.
Here.
Councilmember Bench.
Present?
Pro Tem Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Present.
Councilmember Bryant.
Present.
Councilmember Hall.
Present.
Councilmember Humphries.
Here.
Mayor Browning.
Here.
We have 9 members present and 0 absent.
Thank you. And just remind the audience to refrain from speaking, cheering, or any other behavior that may disrupt this meeting. And also, this is a great time to get a hold of your cell phones and make sure that they are turned off or silenced so they do not interfere with the council meeting. Madam Clerk, any announcements?
Yes, I do have one. I'd like everyone to be aware that the last day to register to vote, change your name or your address, is Tuesday, October 9th at 4:00 p.m. Voter information as of October 9th will be effective for the November 6th election. And we do not have any personal appearances this evening, Mayor. That takes us to remarks of council.
And council members, so just a reminder, you have 5 minutes, and we start with Councilman Michael Balls.
I don't have anything to say today, Mr. Mayor, considering the fact the Detroit Lions.
That's a first. Thank you.
What time?
Ready for me?
Yep.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. First, I'd like to say welcome to our newest council member, Jamie Forbes. Glad to have you on board. You'll be a great asset to us. Really, the only thing that I wanted to add is school is back in session. I had a chance to stop by some elementary schools and high schools just to welcome our kids back, let them know that we support them. And really, the biggest project that I'm working on right now is, again, with CNU Medical School. If you guys know of anybody's students, please get the word out. 9th and 10th graders, we need them for a medical pipeline. So that's what I'm working on. Taking up a lot of time. That's about it.
Councilman Brenda Moore.
Good afternoon, everyone. No comments.
And Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, in the interest of avoiding our mayor beating my record from 2 weeks ago of the shortest meeting, it would take all 5 minutes, right? Well, I think I actually will pass.
Councilwoman Annie Bench.
Other than welcoming our newest member, I pass as well.
Councilman John Milne.
Well, that seems to be the trend. I also wish to welcome Jamie. I don't think there's any question about your qualifications. I wanted to thank everyone who applied, though. I've been through that process myself, as have a couple of the other council members here. It's a daunting task to stand up in front of 8 interlocutors. And so everyone that did that, thank you for your offer to serve, and I know you're serving the city in other ways.
Councilwoman Forbes.
I'm just so very thankful for this opportunity. I am really excited to get started, and there's so much to learn. And I'm so anxious to get going on that. I would like to thank you all for your support and encouragement in this and in many other projects in the rest of the time that I've been in Saginaw. And I'm just excited to be part of this wonderful team and to support some of the great work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman John Humphreys.
Good evening, everyone. I too want to congratulate Jamie.
Thank you.
I also want to make sure that all of those that applied for this position understand that there is still an opportunity. There is one seat available. There are 3 people who are running in the...
4 seats available.
4 seats available, but there are 3 people running for 4 seats.
Correct.
So there is an opportunity that's still available, and I understand that we do have at least one write-in candidate. The individuals that applied and interviewed tonight, there's some excellent candidates, and please, just because you might not have been successful tonight doesn't mean that you might not be successful in a write-in campaign. So I strongly urge you to give that very serious consideration. And our illustrious clerk, Janet Santos, would probably be more than willing to provide you with the information on how, or what you need to do. Not how to do it, but what you need to do. That's what I have. Thank you.
Okay. Back to me. So, thank you to all the candidates. The interviews went very well, and it was a very tough choice. And so, but I really want to congratulate Jamie for being a part, or becoming a part of our council now. And so, with that, Madam Clerk, we're going to move on.
We are now at reports of manager.
Okay, we have a couple items that I wanted to just update you on tonight. First, I want to congratulate Officer Deshaun Harris. He has been selected as the Saginaw Police Department Officer of the Month for September. Officer Harris consistently displays integrity and upbeat positive attitude and dedication to the betterment of the community. Deshaun's strong communication skills and desire to interact with those in the community serve him well, whether addressing a group youth initiative program or those who would circumvent the law. So congratulations to Officer Harris, and we thank him for his service. And the other item this evening is related to our City of Saginaw call center. So in 2011, we had a staffing and efficiency study done with Plant Moran Consulting Services. And one of the recommendations was to create a centralized call center where all the calls would come in and be, hopefully, questions would be answered at the call center, or they could be routed to the correct place. What we found in the past 7 years is the call center has been operational is that it only works when it's fully staffed. And at this time, we've had trouble staffing the call center. That's one of our lower paying positions in the city, and it's a part-time position. So oftentimes when people get that position, it's just a starting point in the city. So they once they become acclimated, typically they may move to a different position, and then it's training and filling constantly. So that's resulted in longer wait times and an unacceptable amount of dropped calls. So we decided to look at a new approach of how citizens are able to contact city departments and employees. And we're going to be making a change there. We're going to keep the general phone number that citizens are accustomed to calling, which is 399-1311. And we're created a phone directory tree where callers are able to pick the department they would like to speak with or have an option for general questions. Also, we're providing an online citizens request interface, which is will be accessible through the city's website, and citizens will be able to submit online requests such as housing violations, parking enforcement, abandoned vehicles, down traffic signals or street lights, etc. Once the request is submitted, it will be sent to the appropriate department for response, and some violations will need further information in order to respond accordingly, so a phone number will be given to call and report the request. The city will also be providing an online city directory where a listing of all departments and divisions along with a general phone number will be provided, and the directory will be available under the Connect tab on the city's website. So we're planning to make the conversion to the new system on September 18th, and testing will be taking place on Friday, September 14th and Monday, the 17th. Okay, so we do have, when we put the phone system in, We did have a lot of options to create reporting out of that, and that's how we can tell the long wait times, the number of drop calls, and also we've maintained this phone number, but a lot of times when we don't have any staffing, the lines get transferred to the departments automatically anyway. So there are many days when we don't have anyone in the call center, so that's happening currently. So I think this will be actually more efficient in the long run. The change is not resulting in any reduction in the number of positions in the city. Currently, there are 2 part-time staff members in the call center, so what we're doing is, through looking at the data, those positions are being moved to areas that have the highest volume of calls, which are customer accounting, which is water service billing, and the clerk's office. So those 2 positions will be physically moved to those areas, and they'll be answering the calls at that time. And then it will have more interaction from the regular departments, but it shouldn't have a huge impact on the staffing, because ideally what was supposed to happen was departments would send people to the call center to help staff, but anytime we did have absences at work or call-ins, the call center was the first to suffer that loss of staffing. So we believe this is going to actually provide better service to the citizens with fewer drop calls and faster response times and less transfers. So those are the only items that I have this evening.
Okay. Questions for the manager? Being none, go ahead.
Mayor, you are now at consent agenda.
And the agenda's been available at City Hall and on the city's website and on SGTV channel 191. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, leaving room for exceptions.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any exceptions? Council, yep,
No.
okay. Okay.
Did he have one?
Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we are at reports from boards, commissions, and committees, and appointment of board and commission members.
Council members, are there any verbal reports you want to give reference a board that is not included in the board minutes that were already provided to us? Being none? Madam Clerk, we have
one appointment. It's the mayor reappointment of Dawn Goodrow-Hillier to the Saginaw Arts and Enrichment Commission with a term to expire June 30th, 2021.
Move to approve?
Support.
been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion on the reappointment of Dawn Goodrow-Hillier to the Saginaw Arts and Enrichment Commission? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Next is motions and miscellaneous business.
Any council members have anything to come before this council under motion? Entertain a motion? Mr. Humphrey, you have a motion to make?
We have a motion to adjourn here.
Motion to adjourn?
Support.
Support. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? We're adjourned.